Good morning, gamers. I hope you're awake because today on Have You Played, we're checking out my review of Alan Wake.
Alan Wake follows the story of the titular Alan Wake, a famous novelist whose wife has gone missing. While searching for her, Alan Wake finds himself in a battle with the supernatural. Events from a novel that he doesn't even remember writing are coming to life before his very eyes, and a dark, shadowy force called the Taken are trying to kill him or force him to do their bidding. That part's not totally clear to me. I should mention that at the time of this review, I've yet to play the Alan Wake DLC. I will definitely be getting into those very soon, but my understanding is that along with the base game, the DLC forms what you could consider the first season of the Alan Wake story. There's also a prequel to Alan Wake, which comes in the form of a 6-episode live-action web series called Bright Falls. That whole thing clocks in at just over 30 minutes and is definitely worth checking out, especially if you're curious about the Alan Wake story and are yet to actually play the games. And if you want to get super nerdy about it, there's also a 144-page book called the Alan Wake Files. Now, this is a real book, but it's not about the game. It's an actual piece of canonical lore that would exist within the Alan Wake universe. And the Alan Wake story actually goes much deeper than that, but let's put all of that on pause and just talk about the game. Presentation-wise, Alan Wake is very similar to watching a sort of sci-fi thriller show. It's broken up into 6 episodes, and it's presented to the player as if it were an actual television series. The gameplay is pretty much broken up into 2 types of scenes. The first type, which usually occurs during the day, is where you get to explore areas, interact with NPCs, and you get a good deal of your exposition during these scenes. The second type usually occurs during nightfall and is more combat-oriented. Like I mentioned, the enemies in Alan Wake are the Taken. Essentially, these are regular townsfolk who've been possessed by shadows. Darkness has imbued these townsfolk with maniacal bloodlust, but Alan Wake can use light sources to drive the shadows out of the Taken, causing them to be vulnerable to your gunfire. I know this sounds kinda goofy, but the way the combat works kinda reminds me of Luigi's Mansion. You rarely encounter enemies one-on-one. There's almost always a swarm of enemies trying to surround and flank you. I had a lot of fun getting a sense of an area and figuring out in real time how to manage my resources to take on the enemies that were surrounding me. One thing that I noticed after playing for a while was that ammo pickups were everywhere. I definitely caught a few game overs, but generally I didn't find the game to be difficult on normal mode. Come to find out, on the PC version of Alan Wake, normal mode is now easy mode and hard mode is normal mode. If you're looking for a challenge, definitely play it on the highest difficulty setting you can. But I do appreciate that in a title where the story is so crucial to the experience, there's a difficulty setting that isn't going to alienate inexperienced players or folks who just want to get through and experience the story. Initially, Alan Wake was developed as an open-world survival game. That idea was eventually scrapped, but I do feel like it shows in the level design. Environments in the game feel very real, and the way they're connected makes sense. One of my only criticisms of Alan Wake is that a few times in the game, it felt like the camera allowed the enemies to get a cheap shot in on me. That, and there's some really awkward product placement. But it's not too egregious, and really, I can't knock the hustle. Remedy Entertainment was a pretty small company at the time, and they had to do what they had to do to get their games out. I'm honestly surprised that it took me 10 years to get around to playing Alan Wake, or 20 years to get around to playing Max Payne. But I'm even more surprised that even though these games are decades old, they feel incredibly fresh and innovative. In my opinion, the storytelling in all of Remedy's titles is unparalleled. The gameplay and mechanics are always unique and engaging, and you can usually get through their games in 8 to 12 hours. These games are top-notch single-player experiences, and I can't stress enough how much Alan Wake is worth your time.
There you have it, my thoughts on Alan Wake. Now, that's the game that Remedy brought us after they wrapped up their work on the Max Payne series. After Alan Wake, they did Quantum Break, Control, all really good games that I will be covering eventually on this series. I am really into everything Remedy's done. and they have built this whole little universe that I can't wait to talk about more in a future video. But I must ask, have you played Alan Wake? And have you played Alan Wake's American Nightmare? I haven't gotten to that one yet, and honestly, I'm not rushing to it. Everyone has told me it's really just okay. But I'm curious, I'm gonna check it out. If you have played it and you have some input, let me know down below. And also, feel free to let us know what you're playing lately. We're always looking for suggestions for games to play or review or just check out, so please leave a comment and be sure to subscribe if you want to see more Hidden Machine videos all week long, okay? There's a bunch of new stuff all the time. Just coming at you. It's just coming down the pipe. Just can't stop making videos. There's something wrong. Please, please just subscribe. Give us some validation, please.